Welcome to day 11 of the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. The challenge where you become an AI Automation Pro in just 30 days, even if you start as a complete beginner. Guys, at that point, we already achieved quite a lot. And when you are new to the challenge and you just stumble across that video, I highly recommend you to go to challenge.germanaiCreator.com, sign up there for free, get all the resources of all the days of the challenge, and then start at day one and just watch all videos in the exact row so that you also come to that point and you can keep building with us here within the challenge. So let's make a quick recap what we are building right now. We are right now in the first example project of the challenge, and this is an imaginary yacht company that has a website, and on that website people can configure their dream yacht, and then when they send this out, a n8n workflow in the background will create an image of that yacht, and then we use our own Python app running on our server to turn that image into a nice overview having the logo, the yacht, and some bullet points. And then we send that back to our n8n workflow, and the n8n workflow will send it back to the website so that the user can see it. So this is what we want to achieve. And until now, we already came pretty far. We already deployed the website. We already built a first version of the n8n workflow. We got our Flask app running. And in this chapter, in day 11, I want to show you why just knowing about n8n is not enough. You have to have all these skills in your toolbox if you want to build truly useful and powerful systems. And today's task is exactly that. Today, we bring everything together. First, we will adjust our n8n workflow so that it is connected with our website. Then we will adjust our website with some tiny tweaks. And in the end, of course, we will test it out and you will see how beautiful that works. All right, that's it regarding an introduction. Let's jump to my screen and make it happen. All right, here we are at rosaliayachting.com, and for the people who are new to the challenge, this is what we built until now. We have an imaginary yachting company. We built the entire website, we deployed it to a domain that we bought, and all that is running on our own cloud server that we also set up here in the challenge, so you learn everything. And right now, this is a nice looking website. It is also working. You know, you come exactly to the right places. Also, the contact section is working. But we have here our Yacht Creator. And right now you can enter here things, but when you send it out, nothing will happen. And now in that chapter in day 11, we will power that Yacht Creator. We will connect it to n8n and to our Flask app so that in the end, when a user configures a yacht here and sends create my yacht, there will be a nice image of the yacht with some bullet points and the logo, so it will look pretty cool. And the first step to make that happen is going back to n8n to exactly that workflow. So this is what we already built, I think, at day 3 of the challenge. So the very first n8n workflow. And our task today is to further develop that workflow so that it integrates our Flask app and that it is also connected to our website. And the very first step to make that happen is that we have to exchange the very first element. Remember the trigger that is starting the workflow. Right now, we work with a pop-up form. So when the workflow starts, the pop-up form is popping up and we have to fill in some values. I can show you that again. We just hit here, execute workflow. You see, then we have the pop-up form and now we fill in the values. This is how we worked in the past, but now we want to achieve that users on the website can fill in the same data points here, send it out, and then we also have to have our values available here in n8n. And this is what we have to achieve now, and we will do that with a so-called webhook. So let me stop this real quick. We also close the pop-up form. And you see, I already placed here the webhook. Why did I do that? Because I tested out the entire process to make sure that I only present you here what is truly working and that you don't have to mess around with the debugging and so on. So once again, right now you have all that. Okay, so this is what you built. And what you do now is the following. You just disconnect here the very first element, move it to the side, and then you go here to the plus, you hit here webhook, and then you click here start the webhook when a webhook is called, exactly on that one. Then you are inside the element, and then pay attention, this is super important. You go here to production URL, okay, and here to post. Remember, post request, get request, this is very important. You go here to production and then to post. Okay, and then you make a copy of exactly that URL you see here. Make a copy, just store it where you have it available in a couple of minutes. Okay, this is all you have to do. And down here where it says respond, you go to using respond to webhook node. Okay, so you click that. This is all you do. Again, store the webhook URL, switch that here to respond to webhook node, and make sure you have post here. All right, then you go out and then you have your webhook. Okay, as I already did that, I will not use that one, but trust me, it is exactly the same. All right, so now you have exactly that situation, right? You have here your pop-up form, you have the webhook URL, you can already place that down here, but don't connect it yet. Then you save the entire thing. And now, before we keep building the workflow, we have to switch some things at our website so that we actually can send the data over to our n8n workflow. And this is what we do now. All right, as I said, we need to rework our website now. That means we have to adjust the HTML content, but also the JavaScript content. Why? Because in the first draft, we did not connect the website to our actual n8n workflow. And now we make this happen. And I show you exactly how I did that. No worries, I will just provide you the updated JavaScript and the updated HTML so that you can just swap out the files and everything will work. But I also want to show you the exact prompt, how I made that happen. So in case you also want to do it step by step for yourself, you can do it with that prompt. All right, so for context, I just started a complete new chat in ChatGPT because at one point this chat gets super slow. I don't know why, maybe because there's so much data in it, but yeah, just that you know, I started a new fresh chat and I went with that prompt. I need you to help me finalizing my yacht designer I'm building right now. I already set up the website, including a form where a user can make selections. Then the selections get sent to a n8n workflow via that webhook URL. And now, very important, if you want to use that prompt and do everything yourself, you have to switch out now the webhook URL because this is my webhook URL and you have to switch it out with yours. Remember, just a second ago, I told you write down the webhook URL. This is exactly the URL. Please include it where needed. And in that workflow, we call a Flask App that creates the image that should be presented in the Yacht Designer on the website. My idea is the following. As soon as a user sends out his selection, there is a spinner or something indicating that the website is working. The website starts polling for an image URL, then the n8n workflow sends back the public image URL to the UI. The website presents the image in the Yacht Designer. So I just repeated here what my idea is, what I actually want the website to be doing. Again, in simple words, I just want the website to send the request to the n8n workflow. The n8n workflow then executes, uses the Flask app to create this nice overview of the yacht with the bullet points. And when it is done, it sends back the image URL of the final post as we saw it yesterday. And then I want the website to display exactly that final post on the website. But as you see in the prompt here, I also gave ChatGPT some freedom to make this happen because at the end of the day, I don't care how ChatGPT does that. I just want it to be working. And then I provided it the JavaScript. Here's my current JavaScript, the one you also got provided. And then here is my current website, and this is the HTML code. And then I ended with that. Tell me where the n8n workflow should send the image URL to, or if it is better to just store the image on the server and load it from there. Again, I give ChatGPT some freedom to decide what's the simplest and best solution. Keep it simple so that it works. Give me back then updated main JavaScript and index.html. If needed, take as much time as you need and think step by step. And when I executed that, I went back and forth with ChatGPT a little bit. I did some HTML adjustments, but I don't want to present that in the tutorial to don't stretch it too long. Okay, I want to keep it brief and I don't want to confuse you. And I will provide you now the exact codes that I got back. So one time main JavaScript and one time HTML. And the only thing you have to do if you go with my resources, with my codes, is to swap out the webhook URL. And I show you now where you do that. So again, we are here in my GitHub repo. At that point, you have your own one. As I said in the very beginning, I recommend you to set up a GitHub repo, and then you can import my files and you can easily work within these files in the GitHub repo. So it's just highly recommended to do that. And what I recommend you now is the following. You download now from day 11 the resources main.javascript and index.html. Then you get the latest version of exactly these two files. Then you go here to add file, upload files, choose files, and then you select exactly these two files. Okay, I already did that, so I don't do it again, but you do that. And then you upload the latest versions of these files to your GitHub account. When you did that, you have these files here. And now there's just one thing you have to do. So pay attention. You go to main.javascript. You go here to the little pen to edit it. And then here where it says webhook URL, you exchange that webhook URL with exactly your webhook URL. Remember the number that you just got exactly here. Okay, so you switch it out and then you store it here with commit changes. That's all you do. When you have done that, you do the following. You just go here to download. So you download the main JavaScript with the exchanged webhook URL. So this is super important. And of course, you also download the index.html. You probably already have that. Here, we don't have to change anything. All right, that means in your downloads, you have now the main JavaScript with the exchanged webhook URL, and you have the latest version of the index.html without doing any changes that I provide you. Then you log in via CyberDuck to your server. At that point, you already know how to do that. And you go to var www to your project folder. And then you swap out index.html. So you pull that over. It takes a couple of seconds until it gets uploaded. Then you say continue. Yes, I want to do that. All right, done. Then you go to assets. And then here you have to switch out the main JavaScript. So you pull that over. This also takes a couple of seconds until it is done. You confirm, yes, I want to do that. All right, done. All right, then you go back to the n8n workflow, and now you do the following. You switch that thing to active. So you click on that button here, and then it is active. Okay, so now it can receive webhook requests. All right, and now you go to your website, in my case, rosaliayachts.com, and I use Command, Shift, and R to just reload the entire page, including the JavaScript. So this is just recommended to make sure that the latest version of the HTML and also JavaScript is loaded. So this is very, very important, because otherwise it could be that still the old version is loaded. And then we are here at our website, and we can test out the Yacht Creator. Okay, so we go here, we give it a name, Golden Fortuna. Length, let's go with 25 meters. I just go with that one, a beautiful golden yacht with diamonds. Name, Dominic, and email, test@test.com. It doesn't matter at that point. Of course, we want the sport package, and then we click here, create my yacht. And now you see the magic, rendering the yacht, and it is normal that you get this little error message here, okay? Because we have not finalized our n8n workflow, so you just click here, okay, that's it. And then you go to the Yacht Designer workflow, you go to executions, and then you will see exactly that one, that there was some data coming in, but it caused an error. But this is totally fine. You just go here to debug in editor, then the data gets loaded, you double click on it, and then you see the data was actually coming in. The website tried to reach our webhook, but the problem is that we have not finalized the workflow. So for now, you switch that to immediately. You go out, you save that thing, okay, and then you go back to the Yacht Creator again, and you send out again the same request. Now you see it says here rendering, and this is exactly what it should do. And then when we go back to our n8n workflow and we go to executions, we see that it succeeded. Okay, we see there was data coming in, and we click here, copy to editor. Sometimes this is not working right away. I don't know why. You just go back to executions. You click on the same element again, and you just click here again, copy to editor. Yes, unpin, that's fine. Okay, I just want you to be aware of that. It's no big deal, but it can happen. All right, and now you see that we have data here. When we go inside that element and we click to JSON, we see exactly the kind of data that the user was sending. When we go down here to the body, we see the yacht name, the visual description, the length, if the Turbo Sport package is demanded, the customer name, and customer email. And isn't that great? Because the data is now coming from our website. Okay, and now we go back to the canvas. You see the data is pinned, so we can keep working with it, and we can connect it to our LLM. And now we double click on that. And as you see, we have to switch out these names now, because these values are no longer coming from the form, but from the website. So we make this big. And then first we just delete everything that is red. Okay, I also recommend you to do that. Just delete that. Then you go here to the webhook and you go down to the very bottom. And now you just select the right values. Again, we have the yacht name, that one. We have the description of the yacht, that one. We have the length of the yacht, that one. And we have the selection if the Turbo Sport package is included or not. All right, now everything is green, looks good. Back to the canvas, we can execute here. It worked. You see, now we have the image prompt, we have the name, and we have our bullet points. This also worked fine, exactly as before. We can pin the data. Then here, when we reach out to replicate, there's nothing that we have to adjust, because remember, our LLM was always putting out the same JSON structure. So the image prompt is still in exactly that key, yacht image prompt. Okay, so here you see this is still green, it is still working. We don't have to adjust anything. So what we do now is the following. We just disconnect that, and then we click on that last element so that we can execute everything from here until here. So we do that. We wait a couple of seconds. You see it reaches out to replicate to create an image. This takes, as always, 10-15 seconds, and then we download it. And when we double click now on exactly that, we can view the image. Wow, that looks absolutely fantastic. But now it gets interested, because there's one step missing that we have to include now, and this is our Flask app. Because remember, we don't just want an image like that, we also want the bullet points and the logo and everything. And this will be done with our Flask app. So to do that, we need a little bit of space here, and we need 2 more HTTPS elements. Okay, so we use that one, and we just make a copy of it, duplicate. All right, and here we have to reach out now to our Flask app. And the big question is, how do I know what to write in there to reach the app? And I show you now how I found out. All right, you see I opened the old ChatGPT chat where we created the final version of the Flask app. So what we basically did yesterday. And there in the end, we tested out the app with a so-called curl request. So we just sent data, and then the app gave back the edited image. And here we already see exactly what our app expects and how it expects it, okay? And now comes the cool part. We can just make a copy of everything from here until here. We make a copy. This is the so-called curl request. And when we then go to the HTTP element here, you see we have the opportunity import from curl. So we click on that and we just paste in here everything from the curl request here, and we hit import. I make this bigger now so that you see what is happening. And now you see exactly that it already took the right settings. We have now post, we have the right URL that we need to reach out to our Flask endpoint. Down here we have our fields, and everything is already named correctly. You see we have image URL, title, bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. The only thing left is now that we have to switch out the actual values that we are sending, because we don't want fixed values, we want to send variables. Okay, so what we do now is the following. We go here to JSON, and then we go to exactly that one. The last element before that, I show it again, exactly this output. We want the downloaded image. So we go inside the element, we go here to JSON, and then here where it says image URL, you go to expression, and then you take exactly that one, output. Okay, so this is the final image of replicate, and we want to provide it now to our Flask app. Then we need the title, okay, and we get the title by going to our LLM, because here we have it yacht name. So we put that in here, and then we need our 3 bullet points, 1, 2, and 3. All right, everything is nice and clean, exactly how it should be. And the cool part is now we don't have to do anything, because the curl request already set up the element for us. And here in the next one, when we double click on it, all we have to do is to fill in here the response that we get from our Flask app, but more on that in a second. What we do now is we test this out. So we just click here on that little play button. Now it is working, it is reaching out to our Flask app, and hopefully in a couple of seconds we get back our final post image. All right, here it is. This looks good. We can connect it now to the final HTTP element, and we double click here. And now we can just take here the download URL and we pull that in here, and we go back to the canvas, and now we can download the final post, hopefully with the logo, with the bullet points and the image of our yacht. Remember, this is coming from our Flask app. This was done on our own server. So let's execute the last element. This will now download the image from the server, and here it is. And hopefully we have a nice image now. So let's have a look. We double click on it, we go to view, and wow, that looks absolutely spectacular. Look at that. We have our nice yacht, we have the logo, we have the name, and we have some nice stats about the yacht. Perfect. The only thing that is left now is connecting that to Google Drive and also to our CRM. So let's check out Google Drive. Here we actually don't have to do anything, because you see the output is still called exactly the same. So it gets the name. And when we go down to the Google Sheet, our CRM, we see, okay, we have to update here the values, because this is now not coming from the pop-up form, but from the webhook. Okay, so we go here to webhook, JSON, and then we go down to the very bottom, and we just have to fill in the right parameters. So we have customer name, we have customer email, we have, what is it here? Yacht description, where is it? Visual description. We have the yacht length in 25 meters, and we have the turbo sport package, if it is activated or not. And now everything is green, looking good. Good. We go back to the canvas, and I also recommend renaming these elements so that you just remember. So here it is create image with bullet points with Flask app. All right, and this one was download final edited image from Flask app. All right, I recommend that because when you come back in a week or so, you don't know what is happening here, and so you always remember it. Now we save it. All right, guys, and now there's just one last thing missing before we can test it out. Remember, we have to send back anything to the UI, to our user interface, to our website, that it actually can work with something, okay? So we go here to the very last element, and we hit here webhook, and then respond to webhook. And then down here, you select JSON, and then down here, you write into that window image underscore URL, because we want to send back the image URL to our user interface, to our website. And in here, we have to swap that out now with the actual post URL. So we go now to the point where we downloaded the final edited image, exactly that one. We go to JSON. Then you go here to download URL and you just drag that over and you make sure that you place it here between the two quote marks. Okay, so this is super important. You see, it didn't work in that step. So I just make a copy of that. Command C, I delete it. Because it has to be exactly within these quotes. All right, now it worked. You see, you want that to be exactly within these quotes, otherwise it won't work. So this is very important. All right, back to Canvas. Now we have to make this a little bit nicer. We put it here. And this is now also very critical. Go back to the webhook URL, and here you have to switch now to using response to webhook node. Okay, so why did we do that? Very simple. When our website is reaching out to the n8n workflow, it expects a response. And normally it would respond right away with, yes, everything worked fine, but we don't want that. We want it to wait until it responds with the actual image URL. Okay, so we save that now. And now, guys, we can finally test it out end to end. So you go back to the website, the Yacht Calculator. I recommend to just refresh the entire page with Command Shift and R. Then we go down to the Yacht Creator and you select the name. I go with the Black Beast. Length is 25 meters. Visual description. And I went a little bit crazy on that one. A stunning sport yacht looking like out of a Batman movie. It has a jet engine, including an afterburner. Okay, interesting. We will see how that turns out. I ordered the yacht to my own name. I give here any random email address. And of course, I also include the Turbo Sport package. And now, guys, the big moment. We can test it out. So we go here to create my yacht. You see, wow. It is creating the yacht, creating the Black Beast 25 meters. You see, this is also done by ChatGPT, but I really like how everything looks. And in a couple of seconds, we should have our final yacht image. And here it is, guys. Fantastic. Look at that yacht. Oh my God, it looks absolutely fantastic. And when we double click on it or just simple click on it, you see it gets bigger, and it is exactly the kind of post that we created with the Flask app. You see, we have the logo, we have our image, we have down here our bullet points. And guys, this is exactly what we wanted to achieve in the very first example project. You see, we managed now to set up an entire website of an imaginary yacht company that actually works. You see, we can jump here around however we want. We could easily further adjust that website, change anything we want by just feeding back the HTML code to ChatGPT and tell it what we want different. We have here our Yacht Creator that reaches out to an n8n workflow, and that n8n workflow reaches out to a Flask app running on our own server. And everything is deployed to a domain that we just bought a couple of days ago. Isn't that fantastic? And guys, this is exactly why I wanted to teach you such a project from the very beginning. Because now you hopefully have the big picture, how things work together. It is not just n8n when it comes to automation. Yes, in the next days we will talk a lot about n8n, and I will teach you different ways to automate your LinkedIn, how to find companies, how to scrape websites and stuff like that. But I think with this very first challenging project, you already learned a lot, and you did not only learn about n8n, you learned about website creation, you learned about webhooks and how everything works together. And once you understand that, how a webhook can send data, that the things have to be in a certain JSON structure, and especially how you can just collaborate with ChatGPT, you become truly, truly powerful. And I know, guys, at that point, many things are probably question marks in your head, because this is all new to you and you might think, oh my God, I could never do that on my own. But trust me, you will. Just go slow, just go step by step. And whenever you have the feeling that you don't understand something, reach out to me, ask me in the comments, or just work together with ChatGPT. This is exactly how I learned everything. I just went back and forth with ChatGPT until it clicked, until I got it done. And trust me, when you keep going like that, you can achieve anything you want. All right, guys, this is it for the very first project within the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. Congratulations if you made it to that point. This is a huge achievement. And now let me know in the comments how it is going. Also tag me on Instagram, post your yacht and your very first post. Just let me know how things are going and how you like the challenge. Feel free to share it with others, invite others, make this big. And of course, if you haven't done it yet, check out challenge.germanyicreator.com to download all the resources completely for free. That's it for day 11. We see us tomorrow and then we keep going with powerful AI automation knowledge.